Cindy, you know that feeling when the pressure is on, or your pipeline is super light, or you're way behind quota and you feel like your back is against the wall? I hate that. That's when panic creeps in. That's when I get like all like anxious and anxiety and it shows up in our tones and our offers and our energy, and our customers feel that. And I hate that.
Hey, but not today, because tune in, listen in this episode, because we are calling it out. We're going to show you what not to do and exactly how to shift into selling from that desperation phase into a phase from confidence, clarity, and power.
Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Secrets in Medical Device Sales, brought to you by the Girls of Grit. We are so excited to keep hearing from you guys. We love when y'all write in and you tell us all the things that we're talking about that just make you happy and are hitting home. So today we're bringing you another big zinger. And I don't know, I think this is something that we all struggle with, Cindy, from time to time.
Oh, yeah. Hey, everybody. This one is really fun. Today, we're really trying to help you advance your sales. We're trying to remind you and give you armor to get to your goals. We're halfway through the year if you start your year in the beginning of January. So your calendar year is about halfway through. This is a great time to stop and look at your goals and see where you're going. And then the biggest thing is, how are you doing it? Is there anything you're doing keeping you from getting to where you need to be? So today we're really, really excited because we want to give you the right approach to advance your sales. So we're really talking about what it's like when you sell from a place of power instead of a place of panic. We don't like panicky sales, do we, Lisa?
No. And when you say panic, it's like, oh my gosh, I have a number to hit. Oh my gosh, I'm so behind my number. I'm halfway through the quarter and I'm not hitting this bucket, or I'm not hitting that bucket. I got to go call on this doctor. And I got to call on that doctor. And I'm going to get Dr. Smith to use 5 of these things today because I need to hit my number. And it's like, it gets really overwhelming. And
you just made me anxious. I
Yeah,
felt
right?
it. I feel it.
Like, I know. And it can like hijack your brain. You're not thinking clearly anymore. And you truly are selling from a place of panic versus selling from a place of power. And we talk so much about mindset and how important it is to be strong in that, planning and strategic and all of those things. But I'll tell you what, when you're panicking, all that goes out the window. It's literally like somebody, what was that? Total Recall. Remember that movie with Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Oh my gosh.
Was it Arnold? I don't even know now. But like, remember that where they like totally erase his brain and then they like program him? I don't know. I may even be remembering this wrong, but
no, you're right. I think it was Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah. Remember that movie though? And it was like, oh my gosh. And I remember watching it as a kid. This is totally dating me. And I thought to myself, how scary would that be if somebody reprogrammed my brain and I couldn't remember anything? And that is exactly what panic does when you start getting into that panic mode and you're like, oh my gosh, I gotta sell this, I gotta sell that. It's like you just forget who you are. You forget everything except I gotta sell, sell, sell. And then you become that pushy salesperson that everybody hates. It's like, again, my used car salesman person or thing that I always think about. I'm like, ew, go away. But your physicians feel the desperation. All your customers feel it. And they're like, go away. And then nobody wants to buy from you. And you're really going over the top and losing your mind, right? So,
but it's true. And we've all been there. Honestly, we have all had moments that we feel that your stomach's all tight. You're looking at, I got to get this to the end of the quarter. I'm not going to get here or there. You immediately go into this panic from pressure.
Yeah.
And so that is the worst feeling.
Yeah.
That is not what we want. And you're right, Lisa. I'm just picturing some of the things you said about like what it looks like. How do we, first of all, let's think about this. We certainly don't want you selling from panic, but I think it's important that we identify how we get there. How do we get in a place of panic, right? So one of the first things I think about is if you've procrastinated all quarter and you haven't done what you need to do, and last minute you're just trying to run in and do something. Okay, that's one thing, right?
I've done that.
And sometimes it might work for you. Luck might be on your side. But something else that I've seen, and I see this in newer people, I see this in people who don't do a lot of like self-reflection of where their numbers are going. What I mean by that is I see people working, but they're not working smart. So maybe they're targeting the wrong people. Maybe
Hmm.
they're out, they get in the car, they go make their sales call, but they're moving. Okay.
Yeah.
But there's
Yeah.
no ROI action bringing them back to where they need to be. And I think that that's something that we overlook. It's something very, very simple. But if you're targeting all the wrong places, you're getting to the end of the quarter and you're not hitting your number. Now that panic sets in.
Yeah. That's a good point. Like they're going through the motions, but they're not really connecting. Another one that I always hear is like, oh, we have nothing in our pipeline. Our pipeline is terrible. There's nothing new to sell. Well, okay, hang on a minute. I don't know any company that constantly has new pipelines. I mean, I know companies that have things in their pipeline, but it's not like you're going to go out there and sell new things all the time. Sometimes you have the same things. There are companies out there that absolutely have the same thing that they've been selling for like 30 years. And guess what? They still sell it. They may make little small changes, but they're still selling the gloves. They're still selling the drapes. They're still selling the same things they've sold for 30 plus, 40 plus years. They may just change a little bit. So you got to be creative. You can't just get stuck in that and be like, oh, poor me. I have got nothing to sell. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm never going to sell it again. I mean, you have to change that mindset, right? Because nobody has something new to sell all the time.
And it's true. So sometimes what we have everything that we need at our fingertips, we're just making excuses. I think
Yeah.
one of the things that brings people into selling from panic is you make excuses. I didn't have time to go there the other day. We don't have this new product yet, so I'm not going to worry about it. My doctors might be gone this month. I'll just wait till next quarter, or it's Christmas time, or it's vacation time. I'm not going to do it now. And so many of those things add up. If you're listening to this and you're identifying with even one of these, take a moment where we want you to change this thought process just a little bit. We don't want you to sell from panic. And some of the things you mentioned, when you've got pressure from your quota, just like Lisa said, you can make a pipeline excuse all day long. There's one other thing I think about that can bring you into fear and panic mode of selling, desperation of selling, is if you've been in a wave where you've had rejection in your sales.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
That's a good one,
And
Cindy.
if you've been told no and now you're like, oh, and then you don't want to, and then you think, oh my gosh, they told me no.
And then
And
you
you
get
bring
panicky
that,
over it.
yes, you bring
Yeah.
that same thought into your next call
Yep.
instead of just hitting a reset button,
Yep.
because you're so worried you're behind,
Yep.
and that puts you just in the wrong frame of mind.
I agree.
So
So let's
we don't
talk
want you
about
to
a
do
couple
this.
things. Yeah. And let's talk about a couple things that will happen when you're working from a place of panic. So one of the things is you're not being strategic. You're basically going after everybody. You're in this mode now of, oh my gosh, I got to sell. I got to sell. I got to hit my number. I'm so far off my quota. I'm not going to make any money. I got to go after every doctor. I got to go after every customer. And you throw out the window your strategy. You throw out the window that list of the top positions of who are your big hitters or low hanging fruit. You just forget about that. You go, I got to get the biggest doctor out there. Well, he might or she might take a year to land. On medical device sales, it takes a while sometimes to land these big docs. But if you're operating from a place of panic, you go after them because you're like, I got to get a big hit. And you totally lose sight of all the other things that are right there because you're operating from panic.
Yep.
I think you can easily do that. Another one is giving away your personal value and what
Yes.
you truly bring. When you operate from panic, you no longer are representing who you truly are. You're showing whatever that audience is that you are in panic mode. And don't kid yourself. They feel that and they're like, wait a minute, where did that Cindy go that I love and know and trust? Why is she so pressurizing right now? Why is she so annoying? And it's like, they don't want to work with you when you're panicked. They're almost like going to give you the big Heisman because it's like, I want my Cindy back. I want Lisa back, where they were cool, calm, collected, my partner in crime, all the good things. You give away that value as soon as you start to panic.
Absolutely. And when you panic, you do become a different person, right? Like you're not
Mhm.
who they want to see. So some of the things that you can do to protect yourself is to have boundaries, right? So don't sacrifice these boundaries. If you're, again, targeting wrong, working so late, you're so tired, and then you might shortcut. You
Yep.
might be like, oh, let me just cut this corner. Let me jump through hoops. Then you find yourself in a
Ooh,
place
that's a
of
good one.
begging, like you're, oh, please let me get in here and see this. And you're begging for a time slot. Just breathe, get your life back. Do the things we talk about, like, some of our early morning things of get back to yourself, to give yourself those boundaries, to feel good, exercise, all that kind of stuff. But we'll talk
I
about
love
what
that.
to do good later. I think just to kind of wrap up a little bit more of what we don't want you to do that leads you into panic. I also think that it's kind of going along with what I just said, but I think it's important to separate it in its own little category, is not to let your energy be drained. And I think that when we have scarce energy, we don't perform our best. And I also think that we have, like in science, there were atoms and neutrons, like one repels and one was a
Oh, yeah.
positive and a
Electrons.
negative attract.
Yeah.
Yeah, electrons, right?
Protons and electrons. Yeah.
Right,
They,
protons, neutrons, and electrons.
uh-huh.
But like,
Yep.
if you think about that, you want to attract something. And when you're in a bad place of mind, I just picture like fifth grade science where those pictures of everything's repelling.
That's a good
That's
point,
what to
Cindy.
me I visualize in a panicky sales call.
Yeah.
So,
That's a
your
good point.
self-worth is important. If you get burnt out, you're not going to be in the right place.
Dude, talk about being that rep that you don't want to be. There you go. I mean, you don't want to be that rep that like everybody's repelled against you. That's like the worst place to be. And panic can put you there. So
I know.
you want to give away our secret?
Yes,
I think
our secret.
is
It is
perfect for
because
what we're leading into.
exactly. So thank you for listening to the Girls of Grit, because our secret to get over panic and to sell with power is this. Da-da-da-da. Bulletproof your mindset. And of course, now I'm singing that song Bulletproof, but still, you can sing it in your head. That's great, because we want you to feel bulletproof. We want you to have that sense of power and protection. When you protect yourself, my goodness, you give yourself such an advantage. So, Lisa, let's talk about what to do to sell from a place of power.
Yeah. I think the first thing really that's important is you need to remind yourself not only who you are, but what are you bringing to the customer? What value are you bringing to the customer? That's not just in the product itself, but also in what you're providing to the customer. You do bring this clinical knowledge, let's hope. You do bring the overarching partnership to the customer. Your product provides, remind yourself of all the good things that your product just does. Why was it invented in the first place? It was for patient care. Maybe it saves patients' lives. Just remind yourself of what you're truly bringing to your customer by going back and looking at your product. I mean, hold it in your hand, go over the selling points of it. I know this sounds so like elementary, but sometimes it's breaking it down to the basics of reminding why you're there in the first place. And it really kind of grounds you and gets you back to that place of, okay, this is what I'm selling. This is how I need to be strategic. It's just reminding you of that overarching value that you bring.
Oh, absolutely. And what you were saying makes me think about pre-call planning.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's one of the biggest things salespeople overlook. Why not sit in your car for a second? Plan out what you're going to say. You have that much more confidence to go in. It's like when you're trying to put together an elevator pitch and you know what you want to say and you never want to lose that moment. So I think that's really important. Like Lisa said, when you really know your value. So the second thing that you kind of hinted on when you talked about targeting or being strategic in your targets, I'm going to word this as like a category and call it qualify yourself like a boss. So what do I mean by that? If you work your territory, you're the CEO of this company, you think differently. You're going to focus on who the decision makers are that can actually turn things quickly. You can have hot targets, warm targets, and cold calls, but somebody like a boss is working all of them all the time. Now, you just need to align with who the accounts are correct and then who the people are. Now, take that a step further into what you just talked about with pre-call planning. Now, let's think about the right decisions we need to ask. Earlier on, I mentioned how people work. There are some people who genuinely believe when they're walking out that door at 7 or maybe it's 9, whatever company you work for, and you get in your car and you're doing all the motions, but maybe you're not asking the right questions. Maybe you're doing things that aren't moving the needle. So why are we doing it? This is where you need to ask yourself what I mentioned, reflect on your business, reflect on what you're doing. So qualify yourself like a boss, get in the car and tell yourself, I'm boss of myself today. I am boss of my territory. This is who I'm targeting. And here's the questions I'm going to ask. And think about this too, take it even a step further and ask with confidence, authority, or a sense of urgency and not desperation. There is a difference you can make this the best thing out there that they feel, oh my gosh, if they don't buy this, they have FOMO. And
I love
oh my
that.
gosh, they're behind, right?
I
Well,
love that.
it's so true, but fit it to their needs and fit it to your needs. When you bulletproof your mindset, you're going in really, really strong.
I love that. What you're talking about is being the expert, which you should be the expert of your products, of your company, of your territory, right? You lead the conversation. You get them down that road of having the FOMO. And listen, if it's not the right person or it's just not going to work, you also got to be able to walk away from it with confidence and not with, oh gosh, there it is, another bad call. This is all part of that bulletproofing your mindset. And there are going to be times when you get no's. Like, this is sales. There are going to be times when physicians or customers are going to say, no, it's not the right time right now. I'm not interested. I just signed a contract with your competitor. I mean, these aren't things we want to hear, but the reality is it's going to happen. So, bulletproofing your mindset also looks like how you mentally prepare and handle these
Mhm.
situations. Some of these things, Cindy, you talk about, these are great things. Daily affirmations, you have a gratitude journal every morning that you fill
Yes.
out with your gratitude. That's amazing. It reminds you, it grounds you of who you are as a person and what's really important in life. That's important. I think another thing is visualization. Visualize yourself wherever you need to be, whatever that is that inspires you. Sometimes it's winning a race, like it has nothing to do with your work, it's everything to do personal. You've been training for a big 5, 10K marathon. I don't know. Visualize yourself in that, winning it, getting your time, finishing the race. It's amazing how that actually takes you across the finish line. So visualize yourself the same way with work. You're going to land Dr. Smith. It may take a little while, but you're going to land her. There are things that are really important, and that's part of that bulletproofing your mindset.
It's so true. And it's so simple that one of the most common things I hear people say, and I'm going to call out my co host. So
Oh, no.
we all do this. Okay. So this is how real this is. We were having a conversation the other day, and she said this one thing. Well, we don't have time for this, this, this. This is a perfect example of how to bulletproof your mindset and switch it around and be like, instead of saying, we just don't have time for this, because now you negatively just, there's all that proton and neutron. So it's done. The door's closed. We can't do this. You're putting that out in the universe that you can't do it. Instead, you don't have to be like, oh, I know I can do this. Just switch it a little bit and be like, we could squeeze time in for just this little bit. And it's amazing how one little portion of just breaking something down to do it goes from, I can't do this till I can. So there you go. I called her out the other day. She did it. Anyway,
So you
but
did.
it's true.
You're right. No, and we all do it. I mean, holy crap, I am so guilty of doing that. I just don't have time, blah, blah, blah. But you're right. You know what? You make the time. You find it. I don't know. You figure it out, but you can't put it out in the universe that it's never going to happen or you're never going to accomplish it, because it's funny. Life has a way of figuring that out for you. So
Yeah,
don't put it out there.
exactly.
Tell yourself, okay, well, at some point, I'm going to get that no to a yes. Okay, well, at some point, this is going to be a good call point for me. Well, maybe not today, but maybe tomorrow. Things that just continue to inspire you, bulletproof your
Yes.
mind. I mean, listen to good, inspiring music, books, quotes. I'm telling you what, somebody out there always has it worse than you do. Just go anywhere and you can read about other people's stories. I just think you're right, Cindy. Staying in that positive mind frame is so important, especially when you're in a sales call, because when you come from a place of fear or panic, people feel that. They don't
Exactly.
want to
You
be
want to
around you. They don't
be,
want to buy from you.
nope. You want to be in a place of abundance. So, to your point, like, okay, we don't have time to get to this big, long goal. All you have to do is think of the tiny step, chip away at little pieces. And when you tell this one little piece is good. So, that's what you focus on. And the bulletproofing your mindset is the little steps will get you there. And I also think something important when I think of abundance, just that word alone. Yes, it's our mindset, but also your targets. And we kind of touched on this a little bit, but I think it's really important that you remember the small hospital you're driving past when you're going to something important. There are going to be times that you need to fill in your cold calling or your warm calling. And I heard somebody say what it takes to be really successful in some elite medical device areas is, this was a VP that mentioned this to me once, that you need 3 to 5 touches a day. So what do we mean by that? That's visual. That's faces. That's being in front of it could start with supply chain and they know who you are and that person counts. So when you get to another meeting, but if you're sitting at home and you're behind a text message or an email, that doesn't count. So think about the daily things you do to build abundance and build momentum. That's how you sell with power, because you're going to have a full pipeline. And it's not always just a pipeline of your product, it's a pipeline of your customers. It's a pipeline of people you can call on when you need to, because who knows when you get that phone call that all of a sudden your company just acquired something. And now you've got all this abundance to feed that into. And it's just really important. And I think the very last thing is to always have a community of support. Have that network. Have that friend that calls you out when you say you don't have time and corrects you and steers your mind into being more bulletproof. Know a mentor you can call, a coworker you can call, and somebody, when you have that moment of, I just don't feel that today, your good friends and those who know you the best are the ones that remind you who you are, remind you of the strength you have, remind you of what you're capable of. And that little bit sometimes is the only kick you need. So find those close friends, pick those who lift you up, because it's one of the best things, especially as women, we could ever have in our pipeline or bag that we sell.
I love that. One of our spotlight series, Kirsten said a hype girl. I love that.
Yes.
By
I
the way,
forgot
we
about
are
that
your
term.
hype girls. We are your hype girls. That's why we are here. We are here every week cheering you guys on, trying to help y'all become better, more excellent, more successful, more high performing women and men, salespeople out there. We know what it's like in this business. It is not easy. It is a tough business to be in. We felt those times of panic. I know I have. I've absolutely felt that. And it's hard sometimes to remind yourself that you need to get back into a position of power. But it's so important, because if you don't, you will not be ultimately successful. You'll end up honestly killing your business by operating from a sense of panic instead of power. So bulletproof your mind, do the things we told you guys to do today, and know that we're here for you. Write into us, share this episode with somebody right now. Send this episode to one of the people that you know that's struggling or maybe having a tough day, and say, hey, listen to these girls. They're going to give you some good tips on how to get back into that seat of power and not operate from panic.
I love it. So your call to action today is actually two things. Number one, you need to call your hype girl or your hype guy. You got to start your day off. Just go call that good person. Go send a good message. Feel good. And now number two, I want you to take one piece of this area that we talked about that could lead you to sell to panic. I want you to recognize one thing that you may be doing, taking you down the wrong path. And then furthermore, you need to correct it. You need to correct it with some of the strategies we shared. And I think it's really important when we talk about your value, qualify yourself like a boss, target correctly, focus on what you need to, and then have a ripcord strategy. So when something doesn't happen, find a way to bounce back. Like Lisa said, pulling yourself away. I don't care. Listen to music. Listen to an audible, step away, reframe, and go back the next day, because this is sales. And part of it is getting knocked down, getting right back up. So thanks for listening today. And we're so excited to see you sell from power, not panic, by using our ultimate secret of bulletproofing your mind.